The place for Celtics news, the place for Celtics opinion, the place for Celtics talk. It's Cattles on Causeway.
A good Tuesday to all of you. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Well, the Celtics will not go 82-0. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they lose last night to Minnesota 114-109. This is a special edition of Cattles on Causeway on a Tuesday because I am traveling this week. I'll be on the road tomorrow, so I wanted to give you some thoughts on the C's before I start that trip down to my old stomping grounds in Virginia Beach. But Celtics lose last night to Minnesota 114-109 in overtime. They did not execute at a high enough level late in the fourth quarter and in overtime. And that's the first time this season that we have seen that. We've talked about how they showed up late against New York. They showed up late against Miami. Those games that were closer, they proved that they can close them out. Against Brooklyn on Saturday night, they were able to close out the Nets. Last night was the first time this season that they struggled late in the fourth and then in overtime in a game offensively. It's the first time this year. So I'm not about to freak out because it's the first time. Again, this team still trying to figure itself out. Still a lot of new pieces. There was no Derek White last night, which impacts the offense. No doubt about that. So this is far from panic mode. They were the final undefeated team in the league before last night. Minnesota has already beaten Denver in Minnesota. Minnesota is a tough place to play this year so far. And so you push it to overtime, but you lose. So I just thought failed execution late in the fourth quarter and the final minute and a half of overtime. Joe Mazzulla did not help. I thought that Mazzulla should have clearly called the timeout after that Anthony Edwards 3 in overtime. Minnesota had it going. They had their rhythm. All the momentum, the building's going crazy. You had a few kind of sloppy possessions before that 3, and Mazzulla let the guys play, and you got another sloppy possession. You got nothing out of it. I thought Joe could have done a much better job late in the fourth and late in overtime to try to steady his team. We saw a lot of that last year, and he's talked about it during the offseason, that he's learned from those things. Last night, he did not learn from it, apparently. Now, Jaylen Brown, the 3 he took late in the fourth quarter, I didn't hate it. It's a clean shot. And, Jaylen can make that shot. It's open. So I didn't hate the shot, but I thought Mazzulla could have done a much better job. You have to take a timeout after that Edwards 3. You have to. You have to settle your guys down. You have to, draw up a play, a nice ATO to get a bucket. I thought that was a swing and a miss by the head coach last night. Got to be better. And that's been a question, right? Heading into the season, will Mazzulla step up? Will he improve? I thought that was a miss last night. And really, I thought the Celtics just let Minnesota's physicality and size get to them. They were uncomfortable for most of the night on the offensive end. You could just tell. It was choppy all night. And Minnesota, look, they're big, they're physical, they're tough. McDaniel's tough on Tatum. Of course, you have Gobert, who probably doesn't want to see Jaylen Brown ever again. But you've got Gobert, one of the best defenders in the league. They've got some guys who are going to bother you. They're very big. We talk about spacing. It's tougher to space the floor when you have so many big cats out there. That's just Minnesota. And so I thought the C's, look, choppy offense all night. I'll get into a few reasons why, but the main reason to me was they let Minnesota's physicality and size get to them way too often. And I think it's borderline miraculous this game went into overtime. The Celtics shot 39% from the floor. They shot 28% from 3. They shot 76.5% from the free throw line. That's just awful. 39, 28, and 76.5, your shooting numbers. There's really no reason for that game to get into overtime. Frankly, the way you shot the ball, that should be a regulation loss on the road against a pretty good team. But they found a way. Defensively, they stepped up. I thought they stepped up defensively in the fourth quarter for sure, late in that quarter. Made enough plays to push it into OT, had a chance to win that game at the end of regulation. Drew Holiday had a terrible night. There's no putting lipstick on that pig. It was a bad night for Drew offensively. Defensively, not so bad, right? I mean, the ability for him to defend or at least put a body on Karl-Anthony Towns, and that was the matchup the C's wanted. They put Holiday on Towns specifically on purpose. That was intentional. He also picked up Gobert a couple of times. So defensively, no doubt. But offense, Drew had a bad night. And I didn't think it was shot selection. Look, Drew does have some sketchy shot selection. He makes a number of tough shots, though. But he takes quick transition threes at times. He rushes himself every once in a while. I didn't think last night was about the shot selection. I just thought he missed a bunch of bunnies. He missed a number of shots in the restricted area. And this guy is usually one of the best in the NBA at his position, finishing in the restricted area. And last night, that wasn't the case. He was 4 of 16 from the floor. He was 0 of 4 from 3. He had a turnover late in the fourth quarter. That was a killer. He had a wide open 10-foot jump shot that he turned down on one possession in the fourth quarter late that bit the team in the tuchus. So Drew was terrible. It was a bad night last night offensively. Bad night offensively at the office for Drew Holiday. I mean, if he makes a couple of shots, they win that game. He was brutal on that end of the floor. Shot selection, though, overall for the team wasn't good. And I thought they got into these like ISO battles. I thought Tatum and Brown were a little too ISO heavy last night. And you look at the statistics, Tatum had like 6 turnovers. And McDaniels is a tough defensive player. He's long. He's got the physical frame. He's stronger than you would think looking at him. But he's got that athletic physical frame that tends to bother Tatum at times. So McDaniels is tough. And, I don't know if it was like Jalen and Anthony Edwards, 2 friends going back and forth and trying to get into a me versus you battle, but I thought it was a little bit too much ISO heavy for my liking. The ball got sticky. Again, Tatum had turnover problems. I thought they did a bad job by not getting the basketball to Porzingis a little bit more. Porzingis had it going early in this game. They just did not get him the basketball nearly enough in the fourth quarter. I don't even know if he took a shot in the overtime. I'm trying to remember. He might have not even taken a shot in overtime. But this is a team, ball movement, man movement, right? You have so many different options. Move the ball and find the best option. Find the best matchup. I thought they did a bad job when Tatum was in there with the bench of not running offense through Tatum and not getting Tatum touches. Tatum needs to touch the ball every time you're down the floor. When it's Tatum, along with guys like, Pritchard, Hauser, Cornette, he needs to get the basketball. Tatum needs a touch. Whether he finds a teammate or he creates for himself, you got to get him the ball. And he did have that stretch where he started to finally get going a little bit with straight line drives when they finally got him the basketball. But there was that stretch before that point where they just did not get him the rock. And that's silly to me. And really, statistically, it stands out. They had 20 assists and 16 turnovers last night. That's not Celtics basketball. You have more than enough guys on this team that can hurt the opposition. There's absolutely zero reason to go ISO heavy unless you're playing hero ball. And we saw some hero ball last night. For the most part, first time this season. But we saw hero ball creep up last night with the Celtics offense. And go back, look at the tape, learn from it. You've got Philadelphia tomorrow night in Philadelphia. So learn from what happened last night, figure it out, be better tomorrow night. Hopefully you get Derek White back. All right, I remind all of you, trying to build this community here with Cattle's on Causeway, trying to build up those numbers, those views, those ratings, those reviews, all of that stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. The Nick Cattles channel, we're now over 1,000 subscribers. Thanks to all of you. Don't forget to subscribe. Every single one of you counts and matters as we try to build out this community and build up this family. All right, let's move on with some other notes. So Rob Williams, injured again. And at the time of the trade, you can go back to our podcast, going back to the time of the deal for Drew Holiday. And I had said that Rob Williams, I love Rob, Love watching Rob, love what Rob brought to the table, love Rob's defense, understand the impact that Rob had on the defensive end of the floor. I understand all of that. But as I said, going back to that trade for Holiday, Rob Williams throughout his NBA career has been more of a hypothetical than an actuality. In reality, Rob Williams has been unable to stay on the floor. And so when Celtics fans got upset, those fans that got upset about Rob Williams being traded, I understood the love because, again, what he brought to the table, how fun he is, and the legitimate impact he had on this team defensively. But you can't count on a guy who's playing 35, 40 games, 45 games. All of that, oh, man, how can you get rid of Rob? He's such an impact player for the defense when he plays. He's a hypothetical 90% of the time. Rob Williams is mostly a theory at this point. He's not a reality. I said that going back to the trade. I'll say it right now. And so Rob, unfortunately, was injured on Sunday. Sounds like he might have season-ending surgery. And I feel for Rob, man. Again, this is a guy who reportedly is great with his teammates. He's great in the locker room. When he plays, he's an impact player. He's 26 years old. And you have to look at what's going on with him and wonder if he will ever be healthy. I have no idea how anybody could say, looking at Rob Williams and this track record of knee issues and health problems, unfortunately for him, it sucks. It hurts. It sucks. I hate that he's injured again. But you have to look at Rob and say, he's just not a guy that's going to give you 70 games. He might not be a guy to give you 65 games, 60. I mean, he might not be that guy. Usually when big guys, they start to stack up these injuries, they don't get better, they don't get healthier. And it just sucks because the guy does have some special talent, certain aspects of his game, and he hasn't even reached his prime yet. And here he is with another knee injury and one that could end his season. It's November 7th, and Rob Williams' season might be over. And that's just brutal for him. And I feel for the guy. I hate seeing talented young pro athletes not be capable of reaching their potential because of the injury bug. He has been snake bitten from pretty much day one. I will say, though, the decision by Rob to sign his extension early was a very, very intelligent decision by him and his representatives. His representation did him right. I mean, that extension was smart business. If he doesn't sign that extension when he signs it, I know we all looked at that and said, man, what a hell of a deal. Again, there was a reason why it was a hell of a deal. He hadn't been healthy. But if he doesn't sign that deal, when he signs that deal, we could be looking at Rob Williams signing vet minimum deals for the next few years. And right now, he still has 2 years left on that contract. He's going to make like $12, $13 million each of the next 2 years. And that's great for Rob. Because there's no way on God's green earth that Rob Williams would be going out there and signing a mid-level contract exception or something like that, or something larger than that with what's happened with him physically. There's no way. So great job by his representation. Very smart decision by Rob Williams to sign that contract when he did, because he would have been looking at a lot of unpredictability over the next couple of years. Meanwhile, other Celtics, Grant Williams off to a hot start. He's been good for Dallas. He's averaging 15 points a game. He's shooting. He's been incredibly efficient. Crazy shooting numbers. I don't think this is going to continue for Grant, but he's shooting 55.6% from the floor. He's shooting over 54% from three. He has fit in like a glove down in Dallas. It's been fantastic. Of course, defensive presence, which is needed for Dallas. Luke is not a defender. Kyrie is not a defender. They need somebody to go out there and muck it up a little bit, and Grant is always willing to muck things up. So Grant Williams off to a very good start. Marcus Smart pretty much has been Marcus down in Memphis. Marcus has been Marcus, up and down, scoring roller coaster. He has nights when he has 8 points and 10 points and 11 points. He had a 20-plus point night the other night, but he's pretty much Marcus. Up and down, not a consistent scorer for you, not somebody who you're going to depend on to give you 18, 19 points, 20 points a night. It doesn't look like he's that guy. He's Marcus. He's averaging 14 points a game from Memphis, and this is without Ja Morant. He's obviously going to take a more of a back seat when Ja comes back, but 14 points a game right now, and he still can't shoot threes. He's shooting 31.1% from three-point land this year. So Marcus is Marcus. Defending, coming up with steals, doesn't shoot the three well, up and down scoring-wise. Very, very confident. Marcus is Marcus. And he's also rebounding at a 2.6 rebounds per game clip, which I think is a pretty big deal because when you look at Drew Holiday, Holiday is a fantastic rebounder. He is a much better rebounder than Marcus Smart. I think you look at Drew Holiday and you say you upgraded in a number of different ways from Smart with Holiday. And one of them that gets overlooked is rebounding the glass. And Marcus, 2.5 rebounds a night. And Steven Adams is obviously done for the year. That team needs all the help it can get rebounding. And Marcus is giving them 2.5 a night. So Marcus is Marcus. I will say the one thing, though, he's been more efficient shooting the ball from the floor. He's been awful from three, but he's shooting almost 47% from the floor. So if that continues, that's a good number. But Marcus has never really shown the ability to consistently knock down shots. So if you're Memphis and you're looking at this, he's giving you what he usually gives you from three, 31%. Maybe he creeps it up to 32, maybe 33, maybe, fingers crossed. He's not rebounding. He's up and down scoring. And you have to imagine that his field goal percentage and his efficiency from the floor is likely to go down at least a little bit if history is any kind of indication. So, Marcus is mostly Marcus. Rob, unfortunately, is Rob getting injured. And Grant's playing well in Dallas. So that is your update on former Celtics. Don't forget to rate and review on Spotify and Apple Pods. Give us that thumbs up on YouTube. That thumbs up means an awful lot. Comment as well and subscribe. We need all the subscriptions that we can get to beat down that YouTube algorithm. All right, some other Celtics tidbits before we bid you adieu for the week. Jason Tatum obviously hit 10,000 points on Saturday night in Brooklyn. This was pretty historic, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But first, JT met up with Jared Weiss from The Athletic and talked about his start in Boston. And he said, man, I was ignorant when I got drafted. Like what I thought I knew. First of all, I didn't even want to come because I didn't think I was going to play. They had Gordon, JB, Isaiah Thomas, Smart. I didn't think I was good enough to be on that team. So it didn't even cross my mind how to close a game or how to finish. I was just more concerned about getting in the game and starting. But, things happen for a reason, and I got my opportunity. It's been a long process. I've had to learn through the ups and downs, through my mistakes, late game decisions, or whatever it may be, just growing pains, and been in enough games, been in enough playoff series. You learn from those things. He's learning. He's evolving. Again, I thought last night was a little too ISO heavy. I thought he could have consistently tried to take the ball to the bucket a little bit more as well. A couple more post-ups would have been good, but he has been mostly great this year on both ends of the floor. His rebounding has been terrific. He's engaged. He's embracing the challenge. Here's the history part. Sean Grandy posted on X on Saturday night. NBA history, 10,000 points, 3,000 rebounds, 1,000 threes at the age of 25. Jason Tatum, that's the list. He's all alone. So Tatum is the only guy in NBA history at the age of 25 to have 10,000 points, 3,000 rebounds, 1,000 threes. He's pretty good. He also won the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, which was nice to see. Other things that stood out to me over the past few days. Porzingis' length defensively on Saturday night was a huge difference maker against the Nets. His ability to contest threes from a decent distance, his ability to kind of shuffle his feet and get out to shooters Brooklyn tried to shoot themselves back in that game in the fourth quarter, and Porzingis almost single-handedly stopped that effort by them by contesting over and over and over again. His length on defense is a problem. Brooklyn had a problem with that. Now, Kristaps has a problem against bigger guys. He gets bodied. He gets pushed around a little bit. We've talked about that in earlier pods. Porzingis is a good to very good defender, but against bigger guys like Joel Embiid tomorrow night, I'm not looking for Porzingis to slow down Joel Embiid. I think Al Horford is going to draw that assignment. That is a terrible assignment defensively for Porzingis. Now, offensively, obviously, Porzingis should be capable of pulling Embiid out to the three-point line and running up and down the floor and getting Embiid gassed. But defensively, those are the challenges for Porzingis against those big-bodied 4s and 5s, especially 5s. Porzingis is not necessarily good at defending those kinds of guys. The Valanciunases, the Brook Lopezes, the Joel Embiids, those guys, Porzingis will have some issues against. But his defensive versatility, his ability to contest threes, he showed out on Saturday night in Brooklyn, that side of his game. I think Porzingis mostly has been really good. Someone who hasn't been good, Peyton Pritchard needs to get it going offensively. He has been putrid shooting the basketball. I mean, last night, big 6-point swing. He has a wide open three in the corner. He misses it. McDaniels on the other end, wide open three in the corner. He makes it. 6-point swing. In a game that went into overtime, that 6-point swing means an awful lot. And Pritchard is just scrambling. He looks unsure of himself as far as his own offense. He's done a good job of creating for others. And I think he's done a good job on the glass. He's never going to be a very good defender. He gives you effort on that end. But he has to start scoring some. He has to. Especially when Derek White's not playing. And Derek White's out last night, personal reasons. Congratulations on the birth of his second child. But when White's out or Holiday's out, Pritchard has to step up and show that he's capable of getting buckets. He has to. That's supposed to be his number one skill in the NBA. He is supposed to be able to shoot. He's supposed to be able to score. And he is off to a very rough start. Shout out to Luke Cornett. He's played better the last couple of games. I'll give him credit. You know I'm not a Cornett guy. I don't think he's the long-term answer as the third big on this team, but I'll give him credit. I'll tip my cap for 2 straight good games from Cornett for the most part. And by the way, find somebody who loves you as much as Brian Scalabrine loves Luke Cornett. My freaking goodness. Agenda City, USA. You watch a game, Scal is just crying and pleading. It's like pleading for Luke Cornett to do good. I'm guessing they have a really good relationship behind the scenes because Scal is over the top. He is like desperate for Cornett to play well. So find someone that loves you as much as Scal loves Cornett. I also last night wasn't really sure about the early minutes for Lamar Stevens or Svi. And I'm a Svi guy. I think Mihailuk has earned some minutes, some spot minutes. But early on, in a game like that, on the road against Minnesota, your offense is kind of sketchy already. I don't know if that's a time where you just throw Stevens and Svi in there. So it's another Missoula thing that kind of got me scratching my head last night. But hey, overall, fantastic start, right? 5-1, Philly tomorrow night, big game. Again, I am traveling tomorrow, so everybody enjoy the game. It should be a good one. Don't forget to rate and review Spotify, Apple Pods. Don't forget to give us that thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget to comment and subscribe as well. It's Cattles on Causeway.